When you picture, like, the ultimate performance-enhancing substance, you probably imagine some highly classified serum cooked up in a subterranean lab. But what if the most rigorously tested, highly effective performance enhancer on the planet is actually just a cheap white powder sitting on the bottom shelf of your local grocery store? Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to our deep dive into the actual science of creatine.
Yeah, we are completely tossing out the gym bro mythology today. We're looking strictly at a massive stack of high-quality sources, focusing purely on the consensus from human randomized controlled trials and huge meta-analyses.
Right.
We really want to see what this stuff actually does to your body and, well, your mind.
Exactly.
But to truly grasp that, we really have to start at the cellular level. Because before we even touch on brain health, we must understand how creatine works in the muscles, as the underlying mechanism is exactly the same.
Right, so let's look at that physical foundation first. When you consume creatine, it's stored in your muscles as phosphocreatine. I like to think of it as a microscopic reservoir of instant energy just waiting to be tapped.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it.
And the consensus across all the trustworthy research is undeniable. Combining it with resistance training leads to massive, significant strength gains. We're talking an average of over 4 kilos on upper body lifts and over 11 kilos on the lower body.
What's fascinating here is that this isn't magic, It is just basic cellular bioenergetics. During a heavy lift or a sprint, your cells rapidly burn through a molecule called ATP.
Which is their primary energy currency.
Exactly. And when that ATP runs out, muscle failure happens.
Yeah.
Creatine simply provides the raw material to rapidly rebuild that ATP on the fly. It acts as an on-demand energy buffer.
Okay, so it's basically like upgrading a smartphone's battery capacity. Like, it doesn't magically make the phone smarter or faster, but it absolutely prevents the screen from going black right when you are getting heavy, high-intensity apps.
That is exactly right. It just gives you that extra juice when you need it most.
Which makes me wonder, if creatine is essentially the backup battery for our muscles when they run out of ATP, what happens in an organ that burns even more energy than a flexing bicep? Like, does the brain use this same system?
Oh, it absolutely does. And that is where the data gets incredibly compelling. Studies show that oral supplementation actually raises brain creatine levels by 5 to 10%.
Wait, really? 5 to 10%?
Yeah, it's a significant bump.
So if my muscles are running basic apps, sleep deprivation or intense focus is like running a massive video editor on my phone, does that extra brain creatine actually help keep the system from crashing?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, yes, absolutely. The brain utilizes these newly topped off phosphocreatine reserves to buffer against cognitive energy crises.
Yeah.
So when your brain is stressed, especially under sleep deprivation or even natural cognitive aging, it demands rapid ATP. That extra creatine steps in to keep the neural connections firing without interruption.
Oh, so that's why we see improvements.
Right, which is why we see modest but clear improvements in memory and processing speed in those exact scenarios.
Okay, well, I'm totally sold on the science, but let's talk real-world application here. So what does this all mean for how we take it? Because if I walk into a supplement store right now, the guy behind the counter is going to tell me I need to load this stuff.
Oh yeah, the classic loading phase.
Right. Taking like 20 grams a day for a week just to start. Are you telling me that's completely unnecessary? Because honestly, that sounds like a recipe for a terrible stomach ache.
It really is, and you just don't need to do that. A high-dose loading phase will saturate your muscles faster, usually in about 5 to 7 days. But a simple continuous dose of 3 to 5 grams a day achieves the exact same muscle saturation in about 28 days. No extreme dosing required.
That is such a relief. But what about the type of creatine we should buy? Because there are literally dozens of expensive, hyped-up versions out there.
Yeah, the data heavily emphasizes one gold standard, and that is creatine monohydrate. It's the absolute cheapest and the most effective.
Wait, so what about the fancy ones?
Well, supplement companies charge a premium for fancy versions like creatine ethyl ester, but the harsh acid in your stomach actually breaks those down before they can ever reach your muscles.
Oh, wow, so they don't even work.
Not really. It just turns into a waste product called creatinine that you literally just end up peeing out.
That is crazy. So we're literally flushing money down the drain with the expensive stuff, and sticking to monohydrate is totally safe.
Rock solid safe. We have analyses covering over 26,000 participants across hundreds of clinical trials. In healthy individuals, it does not harm your kidneys or liver, completely disproving those persistent old rumors.
Okay, so here is your main takeaway. You do not need to be an elite powerlifter to benefit from this. Just 3 to 5 grams of basic monohydrate daily is a safe, scientifically proven way to give your cells that crucial energy buffer.
Right, and this raises an important question for you to ponder. I mean, given its proven ability to combat age-related muscle loss, known as sarcopenia, while simultaneously supporting brain energy under stress, could this simple, incredibly cheap supplement fundamentally change how we preserve our physical and mental independence as we age?
It really makes you rethink what a performance enhancer actually is. Like, it's not about superhuman strength, it's just basic biology waiting on the bottom shelf, ready to help you hold on to your health a little bit longer.